Hello and welcome to Friday's Granada Reports.
Yeah, good evening. Here's what's coming up on tonight's programme.
From the air, it looks like a great place to live, but on the ground, this was a scene on New Year's Day, how some residents living at this converted mill still can't get back into their homes after the floods.
Where are we supposed to go for help? You know, I can make 1,000 phone calls tomorrow. I'll probably get no replies because nobody will speak to us.
A legend on and off the pitch. Now, Nobby Stiles' family want the law changed so footballers and their families whose lives have been devastated by dementia get more support.
Are Everton going to roll back the years and make Moyes their man again after sacking Sean Dyche?
The little shop in Chester on track to win the World Cup of Model Railway Retailers, or something along those lines.
And temperatures finally on the up as we start off the new week from Monday. But in the meantime, it stays cold, mainly dry with a little sunshine. All the details to come.
Well, first tonight, and while many in our region have struggled with the freezing weather this week, others are still reeling from the New Year floods.
Yeah, hundreds of residents living in flats at a converted mill in Stockport have been unable to return to their homes after flooding forced them out.
The Meadow Mill site remains without running water or electricity. Our cameras have spent the day there talking to people who feel even though their building's flooded, they've been left high and dry with very little support.
Well, some have even had to check into hotels at their own cost. Now we've got a development on this story, which we'll bring you after this report from Emma Sweeney.
So that's my flat there, just on the first floor, just above where all of the damage is.
For Lydia Jowells, 2025 hasn't exactly proven to be a happy new year so far. 10 days on since she and 400 other residents were driven out of their flats at Meadow Mill, they still have no idea when they'll be able to return.
The bottom floor and reception is completely contaminated with the river water. We can't get into our flats as and when we please. All the power is gone, there's no clean water. As I stand here now, a week ago, I know nothing more than I do today. This is where we're really, really angry about it. And my car is just a write-off, so my livelihood is ruined.
Even so, Lydia counts herself among the lucky ones. She, at least, has family to stay with. That isn't the case for the likes of David Howarth, who's currently paying for a hotel out of his own pocket.
We left the apartment and we were told to pay for any living costs ourselves and that eventually it would be claimed back via the insurers of the property. But at the moment, obviously, I'm financing that myself and I've run out of funds to finance it any further. I can realistically survive another 5 days and then I will have nowhere to live. Where are we supposed to go for help? You know, I can make 1,000 phone calls tomorrow. I'll probably get no replies because nobody will speak to us. We're the left out party.
Stockport Council say there are many in David's position. In fact, they say there are some people who are so desperate that they've gone back into their flats despite the fact that there isn't water, there's no electricity and there aren't the appropriate safety measures in place to protect them. Now, it's because of this that they've written to the management company, the owners and the insurers of this place. They say they need to get their acts together and quickly.
We're now 9 or 10 days on from the initial incident. There are a number of organisations involved and it is a challenging situation, but we do need, particularly the insurance company AXA, to step up, to get around the table, to get the help in place for residents that so desperately need it. We as a council won't stop fighting to get the help there for residents that are getting desperate now.
In a statement, the insurance company AXA said, "We sympathise with the situation being faced by the residents of Meadow Mill. This is a complex claim which involves detailed investigation with multiple parties, including the property's freeholder, who is the policyholder of our commercial buildings insurance policy and their broker. We are urgently working with them to resolve the situation." In the meantime, it seems there's little else these residents can do but to wait and watch until they can finally return to their homes. Emma Sweeney, ITV News, Stockport.
Well, a short time ago, AXA, the insurer, told us they have agreed to provide suitable accommodation for Meadow Mill residents for the next 7 days, starting tonight.
And in a statement, the building manager told us the building owner has worked to address the damage caused by the flooding from the river as swiftly as possible. We've sought to assist residents on matters that are within our control. We've communicated promptly each day to keep all parties informed. Well, the weather's been hitting the headlines all week, hasn't it? And our weather expert, Tori, joins us now. Tori, we've had the floods over New Year, then we had the big freeze. It really has been a very difficult time for many people, hasn't it?
It has. As you say, a stormy start to the new year. We had 84 millimetres of rain in 24 hours. It was mild, it was really windy, we had gales. And then from about the 2nd of January onwards, the temperatures really started to noticeably drop. And nighttime temperatures have been on or below freezing ever since. So that's quite a stretch. The airport's been open and shut. I've got some lovely photos to show you, though, because it is pretty. It looks absolutely beautiful, as it does when it's this cold, and we've had sunshine, but there's a lot of hoarfrost growing on the fauna, so it is really lovely. And although it is very pretty, the other thing to bear in mind, though, is it is quite treacherous. So gorgeous though it looks outside, when you're outside, it isn't that great underfoot particularly. Of course, I think the councils have been doing a brilliant job trying to keep all the roads clear for drivers, but a lot of the footpaths are incredibly icy, and so to get rid of that, I think we really need a good thaw to change things.
Yeah, we certainly do. It has been terribly cold, hasn't it, Tori? So what next? What should we expect for next week?
Well, if we take a look at how the temperatures have gone down this week, because there's been quite a drop. Last Sunday night, the temperatures were hovering around freezing, but they dropped down to -8 last night. And in fact, tonight, the temperatures could drop down as low as -10, so the coldest night so far. But then you'll notice that the overnight temperatures lift quite dramatically, and it's because we're trying to see a weak weather front pushing from the west, and that is going to introduce much milder air, and then that will bring in much different conditions. It will feel completely different by the time we get into the start of next week, and daytime figures by then could be into double figures. And I'll of course bring you all the details on that in the forecast later on in the programme.
I think we'll all look forward to a bit of a thaw. Change. Thank you, Tori.
Yeah, glad to hear that things are set to improve next week. Well, next tonight, to the calls from former footballers and their families to help them deal with serious brain conditions in later life.
Yes, several reports now have linked heading in football and an increased risk of dementia and higher rates of death due to neurodegenerative diseases.
Well, just a few hours ago, the Metro Mayors of Greater Manchester and the Liverpool City region, Andy Burnham and Steve Rotherham, met with ex-footballers with medical experts to discuss the subject.
Yeah, they're calling for the Football Governance Bill, which is going through Parliament, to compel the football authorities and the Players' Union, the PFA, to create a football and dementia strategy. They want that to include financial support for players past and present, along with their families.
Well, we'll be speaking to John Stiles, son of Manchester United and England midfield player Nobby Stiles, in just a moment. But first, let's hear from some of those former players.
I'm 54, I'm 55 this year. As it's been out there now, a good friend of mine, Dean Windass, he's 55, and he's been diagnosed with, stage 2 dementia, and it's that I think about, and I think, well, I'm the same age as Dino.
There's ex-players out there now who are struggling, but the families who care for them need all the help in the world, and football is a rich industry. If you talk about the Premier League, the FA, the Football League, the PFA, they don't get enough help, in my opinion.
Well, John Stiles is with us now. Your dad, Nobby Stiles, he graced the field for Manchester United, Preston North End, England. He won the World Cup, the European Cup. I mean, I guess towards the end of his life, really sadly, he may not have had much memory of those glory days.
No, he didn't have any memory in the end. He started losing his memory when he was late 50s, early 60s, and it was a long, slow process. Tragic, like any family that has dementia in the family. It's not a nice thing to see. So it was very difficult. My dad was diagnosed with vascular dementia and Alzheimer's, and when Dad died, we made the decision to have his brain donated to Professor Willie Stewart, the leader in the field, and he had neither. He had a disease called chronic traumatic encephalopathy, CTE. This is created by every time you have a head impact, a small protein called tau breaks off the brain. Now, if you don't have another head impact, it settles down, but the footballers don't. They had tens of thousands of footballs. So over the years, the tau protein comes to clumps together, settles on the brain and destroys it. And that's what killed my dad, and that is what I believe is killing thousands of footballers.
And John, there's no dispute in the science now. It's clear that this is having a significant effect, a significant impact on footballers from days gone by.
I believe so. Professor Willie Stewart's studies in 2019 and 2021 established that footballers were 3.5 to 5 times more likely than the general public to get dementia. I asked Professor Willie Stewart, out of the brains he'd had donated to be examined, footballers' brains, I said, how many had CTE? He said 70%.
Wow.
So it's there. To me, it's glaringly obvious. It killed my dad, and that's why I'm fighting to get help for families. My dad had some medals to sell. Otherwise, I don't know what my family would have done. But when I get families ringing me up now, they say, if he goes into a care home, we don't know what we're going to do. And that's why we're fighting for a properly financed fund, not the £1 million fund that they've got at the moment. That won't take care of 12 families' healthcare costs for a year in a home, so expensive. We need a proper fund, and that's why we had so many ex-players there today from all divisions who are very angry that this isn't happening. And we had Steve Rotherham, Andy Burnham and Steve Rotherham are now with us, which is fantastic. So now we will take it on to the next stage of our fight, because if we don't do it, nobody else is going to do it.
I mean, John, we see those amazing pictures of your dad in the World Cup. How does it feel knowing what you know now, knowing that it was that game that contributed to his death?
Well, you can't take away the great memories of my dad, and you know, in 66 and 68 being a Manchester lad 10 years after the disaster. So those are great memories. But when we got the diagnosis through off Willie Stewart after we donated his brain, I was very angry that to know that his job had killed him, really. People have said, you want head in, banned out the game. I don't, but everybody needs to know about this CTE, this chronic traumatic encephalopathy. Some doctors don't know about it, coroners don't know about it, but it's so prevalent, not just in football, any sport where there's head collisions. Rugby, it's big problem. Boxing, obviously, ice hockey, NFL. But the NFL have created a fund of 1.25 billion for their players who are suffering.
Yeah.
We've got to get this sorted out.
There's some way to go. OK, John, many thanks indeed for joining us today.
Thank you.
OK, here's what's coming up on the ITV Evening News with Charlene.
At least 10 people are dead in California as wildfires rage on, leaving a trail of devastation as thousands of homes are destroyed. With many still missing, authorities say the death toll is likely to rise. Music to the ears of fans as the government announces plans to tackle ticket touts and dynamic pricing. And they certainly look like they're enjoying themselves, but can fifth-tier Tamworth keep their remarkable FA Cup run going against Tottenham on Sunday? Join us for those stories and more from 6:30.
Well, sticking with sport now, Chris is here. Chris, tell us what's going on with the Everton job and who's in the frame at the moment.
Well, there are a few names being thrown around, but it's their old manager, David Moyes, who appears to be the front-runner to replace Sean Dyche in the Everton dugout. Moyes, who's believed to have held talks with the club today, led Everton to an FA Cup final and into the Champions League during 11 years in charge at Goodison Park. He then left to replace Sir Alex Ferguson at Manchester United and had successful spells at West Ham. Jose Mourinho and former England caretaker boss Lee Carsley have also been linked with the job. So, what do the fans think?
We had Champions League football with nothing under Moyes. I had some great away days under Moyes that I'd never have got to see. And if it wasn't for Moyes, I say bring him back.
Me and my husband think that he's going to bring a lot of stability back to the team and the club in general. So it's actually really good news if he does.
You're never sure second time round. I mean, Howard Kendall was a great manager first time round, came back for second and third spells and didn't quite work. So I don't know. Mixed feelings.
Obviously he left for Man U, which is unfortunate, but I understand why he did it. He's going to win a trophy with West Ham, I can't believe they sacked him for that. So I think it'll be good to have him back.
Well, Everton's caretaker boss, Leighton Baines, played under David Moyes at Everton and says he's a great coach and a good man.
Got to be hope and optimism. I think even that's something we've spoke about today. Things are changing. The football club, the ownership, the stadium and things that are being talked about. The managers had to leave, and that's not what anyone wants. But there'll be a new manager coming in, and that brings opportunity.
Getting that winning feeling. FOW, sponsors of the Granada Sport Report.
So, who will join Everton in round 4 of the FA Cup? 11 other North West clubs are still involved. Preston and Wigan fans will have to wait till Tuesday for their games. They're postponed because of the weather. But we can still look forward to seeing the cup holders, Manchester United, heading to Arsenal. Another tough test for manager Ruben Amorim. But striker Rasmus Højlund is confident he'll get United back on top.
Yeah, it's very nice to have a manager like that. You can see the passion and the fire inside of him, and he gives a lot of freedom to his players, but he don't. It's a very good balance, I think. And we're still very early days. I know the results haven't been very good recently, but in the end, it's about where we will be. And I think we're on a rough path, but we gotta get over that period, and then we start seeing some results.
Well, one of the most romantic stories of the third round sees Accrington Stanley heading to Anfield to face Liverpool for the first time in nearly 70 years. For those of us old enough, it conjures up memories of a very famous milk advert from the 1980s. While for some Accrington players, as David Chisnall has been finding out, it's the realisation of a lifelong dream.
This is what the FA Cup third round draw means to Accrington Stanley's Josh Woods. As a lifelong Liverpool fan, that
come out and I never even heard him say Accrington Stanley. I just jumped up and my emotions come out. I was crying my eyes out from obviously where I've come from and stuff. Because it doesn't really happen for obviously lads like me to come from non-league to actually play at your dream club.
Josh has supported Liverpool from a young age. Here he is in the middle alongside his older brothers Connor and Dale and the Champions League trophy.
He was a Liverpool fan obviously all his life. He was a steward when he was a bit younger. And obviously my family and friends have got season tickets. Never imagined to be even step foot or be around it. Just what dreams are made of, isn't it?
It's 69 years ago that these two clubs met in their only ever competitive game. Despite being the home side, Liverpool wore yellow for that FA Cup clash, which they won 2-0. Fast forward to the 1980s for what is arguably their most famous link-up, thanks to the Reds' record goal scorer Ian Rush and a child drinking milk.
And he said if I didn't drink lots of milk, when I grow up, I'm going to be good enough to play for Accrington Stanley.
Accrington Stanley? Who were they? Exactly.
England and Lancashire cricketing legend David Lloyd knows the punchline to the famous advert well. As someone who's Accrington born and bred, he's a big fan of the town's League Two football club. However, he's not so keen on their third round draw.
I went completely the other way. What have we done to deserve this? Liverpool, one of the greatest teams in the world, and we just shipped 5 against Grimsby. This is the biggest game in Accrington Stanley's history by a distance.
Accrington's Liam Coyle understands the scale of the occasion. The 25-year-old is another player with Liverpool roots, coming through their academy from the age of 10.
I did love my time there, yeah. At the time you maybe don't appreciate it as much, but I look back now and think some memories to have as a kid, yeah. They're a very good side, probably the best in the world at this moment, yeah. Yeah, it should be a great day out, and obviously we're not just turning up there for the day out. We want to try and go and put a performance on and try and get a result, yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be great. And today, Liverpool boss Arne Slot has even said that even he knows about the milk advert. Do you guys remember it? It's part of my childhood.
Absolutely, I remember it. For some reason, it's in one of my first memories, you know. So we're talking about, what, 85, 86?
Around the time of the milk tray adverts and all of that. We should mention every other brand as well.
That's right.
I just don't think you can say Accrington Stanley now without saying, who are they?
Get off,
Don't
give
make
me
me
some,
do the
get off. And Chris, what about David Moyes and the Everton job? Do you think it's going to be a bit strange for him to go back into his old role?
It's going to be fascinating. I think Everton fans might have been a bit put out when he left to join Manchester United. They all understand it now, so they seem to be welcoming him back with open arms. But they do say never go back, don't they? So we'll have to wait and see, won't we?
Time will tell.
Chris, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, now, running a railway can be a mammoth task. You just have to ask Network Rail or Avanti West Coast. But many people, including the rich and famous like Rod Stewart and Pete Waterman, run their own trains, albeit in miniature.
Well, a shop in Chester has just been nominated by Railway Modellers for a top award for the way it supports its loyal customers and their layouts. Our very own Mr Railways, Rob Jaskowski, has been finding out more.
Always striving to keep people's hobbies on track, the family-run Chester Model Centre has earned its place in the national finals for the Hobbyist Shop of the Year competition. It's organised by Hornby. One accolade is the approval of regular visitor and king of locomotion, that's music guru Pete Waterman, who once owned the real Flying Scotsman.
Well, I was born next to a railway, and this makes me really old. I've had a train set since 1948, so there's not a year in my life I haven't had a model railway. Even, you know, at the height of all the Stockacre and Waterman stuff, I always had a layout in my office that you could just break and play with, and just break them, you know, break the concentration. It's really important to be able to sort of get away sometimes, do something very different. Model railways, you need all sorts of skills, which is why I like it. You've got to be a painter, you've got to be a wirer, you've got to be a mathematician. It uses all your skills.
And what about the existence of a really good dealer like this?
Crucial, particularly when you're younger, because you need to go somewhere to get that information from. And guys like Chester Model Centre, I mean, that's where you get it, because you're not only the guy behind the counter, but people that come into the shop. You know, you've got oldies like me in here on a Saturday, and the young kids come in, and of course they see me on the telly, they ask you questions, and that's where you pick up. And that's always been the way the model railway work.
So what are the hopes of being crowned the ultimate winner?
It'd be nice, but to be in the top 5 is more than good enough for us. I mean, we're really happy to be in that. But, we're not in the face. Let everybody browse. So, yeah, Saturdays especially, we get a lot of people come in, little groups, and they're always welcome. And they can pass on knowledge, which is good.
So what is it that makes Chester Model Centre so successful?
They're very helpful. They give you advice. They know what you're looking for and everything. So they're very friendly people.
It's very quaint, it's very old, it has a large selection of different items, and there are bits here you can touch and feel, unlike the internet.
The ultimate winner will be revealed next month. Rob Jaskowski, ITV News, Chester.
Are you a fan of a model railway?
I've got a wooden railway set for my boys. They're 2 and 4, and I absolutely love playing with them. You know, so but we haven't like upgraded to the tracks that we see in the Hornby.
You have to pop along, won't you?
Yeah,
see if they can do you a good deal.
One day. Okay, here's Tori with the weather.
Why do I need a shower? I've been out in the rain.
The faster you go, the sooner you'll be out. You'll save water too.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
So yes, it is still bitterly cold out there, and of course the temperatures overnight tonight are going to fall like the proverbial once again. We're looking at potentially -10 in Buxton overnight tonight, all underneath the high pressure that's been keeping those clearer skies. But slowly but surely we will start to see that milder air creep across from the west, and eventually through the weekend, yes, we'll get more cloud and we'll probably see a little bit of rain coming through as well. But to be honest, although I love the cold sunshine, I would prefer it a little bit warmer, so I'll be glad to see those temperatures rise. So the trend is going to be for those rising temperatures, but overnight tonight there is an additional hazard because it's so bitterly cold. We've got some icy surfaces. We are going to see some fog forming again, and like last night, freezing fog is potentially going to be a problem, so that could be quite nasty if you're out and about driving. Please do take care, because it can freeze instantly on your windscreen, which is pretty nasty. It's mainly going to be around the Cheshire region, a little bit north and eastern here. I don't think we're going to see too many problems with the fog, particularly by into the morning when we'll start to see some sunshine coming through, but it is going to be really bitterly cold wherever you are. Sunshine for most of us, as I say, except for where we do have those lingering patches of fog, which could well linger all day, and if they do, it's going to make it feel very, very chilly. But a little bit more cloud just turning things more hazy through the afternoon, and temperatures could just nudge up to the right side of freezing for the first time in a while. Now, high pressure will kind of win out through Saturday night. So it's going to be another chilly night, but then we see something milder begin to creep in for all the west before those temperatures climb upwards into next week.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Absolutely freezing, isn't it?
It's
We were saying it's even
Baltic.
colder in here. We need little blankets.
Keep wrapping up warm, folks. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.